Hey everyone, STT here, and it is time for my 2024 games review video. Noticeably late this year, I apologize for that. I just had lots of stuff going on, including getting sick completely over the week of Christmas, which was not fun at all. But yeah, it's been a fun year. It's been an interesting year. I will say that for the overall stats that I've done this year, I have 36 games that I've played over the course of the year. 25 were new to me for this year, and about half of those 25 were 2024 releases. It was really fun when I did this gamers review last year that my top games for the year were also all released that year. That's not going to be the case this year. So it's an interesting, a little bit more of a blended list this year. And last year it took me forever to get that video out, so we're going to try to rush through today's video. Or maybe not rush, but at least be a little bit quicker about it. Editing, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, with that all said, I guess let's dig into the list here. So yeah, as I said, 36 games that I played this year, 25 new to me, 12 of them were new releases. And it's kind of funny. Of course, there was a gap kind of in the late summer, early fall where I wasn't playing very much. So the end of the year, I was kind of doing a lot of catch up. Four of my top five picks for releases as of this year were all played in the last 2 months, and seven of the top 10 games that I just played overall, whether they were released this year or not, were also like in the last 3 months of the year. So I was really playing catch up once I got back from my little hiatus. But it was a good run. Honestly, I've gotten back to uh, streaming or putting out videos 3 times a week instead of 2 times a week. We'll see if we can keep that up for the new year. But yeah, hopefully we'll keep doing the 3 times a week thing, and I'll be able to play a lot more games this coming year, which is going to be good. I think I mentioned on Blue Sky the size of my backlog and how many hours that would in theory take to complete every game. Well, as we go through the list today, I'll mention which games I have completed or not. I don't think I need to complete every game I play, just enough to either have fun or no, I don't want to play it anymore. So we're not going to get everything to completion, but that could be a fun goal to have later down. Um, with that said, let's actually dig into a quick summary of those 25 new to me games this year. Like last year, I'm going to run through these in alphabetical order, which means the first game on my list of new to me games this year is Animal Well. Animal Well definitely made a splash in 2024, and I can totally understand why. You know, it's got an amazing aesthetic. It does do a good job of drawing you forward. You notice when I played it on stream, there was always something like, okay, here's what I'm going to do next. Here's what I'm going to do next. Even though there wasn't much of a plot driving it forward, at least none that I got to during my stream. Um, so I really do love the puzzles, but that lack of plot, it's like I haven't picked it up since that one stream. Um, and actually, that's true for another kind of Metroidvania down the list here. It's fun. I can absolutely see how it got as much praise as it did. I'm a little upset I came to it after the fact because I know just from the buzz when it released that there's actually a lot of like cooperative stuff if you want to really 100% the game. And so I'm not sure I'll even be able to do that coming out of this late. But you know, I need to pick it up again at some point soon. Next up on the list, which was quite a long time ago, honestly, was Bear and Breakfast. This was released in 2022, and I played it for the first time way back in January of last year. Um, it seems like a fun game. I know I got very frustrated on stream because it looked like I had soft locked myself with some of the economy in the game. So I don't know what to say about that. I could have missed something, but the fact that I got to soft lock really kind of turned me off. Yeah, so that's why I only played it once. All right, next up on the list here, I'm actually going to lump these two games together. These are Cats Love Boxes and Cats Organized Neatly. You know my channel, you know I love cats. These are two really cute, simple puzzle games. And of course, you also know my channel, I like my puzzle games. Yeah, they're fun. Just a bunch of puzzles if you want to take some time with a little brain teasers every once in a while. But yeah, it's oh, good lord. Speaking of cats, Wiley, what's up? My cat had just dashed into the room and dashed right back out. Wiley! All right, hang on a moment here. Yes, babe, what's up? Can't decide? There she goes. All right, but yeah, that was my cat. You saw her dash away. Um, anyway, back to the games. Yeah, Cats Love Boxes is a cute little thing where you've got two cats, one big, one small, and you're just pushing boxes around to get them all onto their respective targets in a grid pattern for the most part. Um, and then Cats Organized Neatly is you've got cats of different shapes that you're all just trying to place together in a box. Because cats love boxes. Again, these are two very cute, very simple puzzle games, but I like them. Next up, and this is a fun game. This is Cat Cafe Manager. I've done this on stream twice, I think, maybe three times. I gotta double check. Um, and this game, it's kind of a management sim, and it absolutely sucks you into this play loop like none other. Like I was surprised. I never thought I've been big on management sims, although I guess last year I had my Cattails games, and those were fun. Again, cats. I'll play a management sim if it has cats in it. Sure, why not? A cat cafe manager. There's so much chaos that kind of goes around on any single day. Sometimes it gets really stressful and frustrating, but it was never to the point where I was like, I want to put this down. And those 2 hour streams felt like maybe 40 minutes to me. It just kept my attention that much, and you're juggling so much, time goes by like nothing. Um, so I would recommend you watch those because I think they're very fun, especially if you kind of like the chaos of running a cafe. Uh, all the people coming in and out, needing different things, managing your inventory. Like it doesn't necessarily sound fun, but it draws you in. It does draw you in. So I like it. All right, next up, Chants of Sennaar. This is not new in 2024. It is a 2023 game, so I kind of wish I had played it last year when it was really fresh. But it absolutely deserves all of the praise it's gotten. It is an amazingly crafted game. I love kind of the puzzleification of solving language. Yeah, it's just great. My one little complaint, well, okay, I guess I have two little complaints, but the one that I've kind of mentioned a couple times before is it's basically a point and click adventure, and that does limit the camera view at some points. That makes it a little bit harder to navigate. I've you know, navigated slower than desired at a few points because of the point and click, the camera not moving where I wanted it to. And there was one point in the game where I actually just completely missed where I needed to go because the camera wasn't showing it to me very well. It was there, but I wasn't seeing it. So that's kind of the main tiny complaint. I also didn't enjoy the fake out for the true ending, but that's less of a complaint. Like that's intentional design. Yeah, we kind of want to fake you out. Oh, but it was fun. It was fun. Again, absolutely deserves all the praise it gets. You need to play it. I would honestly say if you haven't watched my streams and this is the first time you're playing it, don't go watch the streams and just play it yourself, please. It is a great puzzle game. And it's so well crafted. I don't know what else to add, but it is great. All right. Next up is Chicory, A Colorful Tale. This was also one that I think made a pretty good splash when it released back in 2021. Um, Again, just an amazingly well-crafted game with a very solid vision of what it wants to talk about. It kind of draws you in with the colorful, cartoony nature, and then it'll hit hard with some of its themes of, mental health and such. Um, and it balances that with just amazing gameplay. It's simple. You're going around and you're painting stuff. it's almost a little bit, do I want to say it's a little bit of its own Metroidvania because you keep learning new skills to unlock new areas of places you've already been. But it's in that nice 2D top-down map with just great color scheme, great design. It's so fun. I need to get back into it. I haven't played it since July, but I need to get back into it. I want to complete those trials. I think the reason I haven't gotten back into it is because I'm at the point in the game where it feels a little grindy. Because it's like, oh, okay, I've gotten one or two of these brush trials now. I just have to now do the other two or three, and I have to, just keep exploring the map to get the whole thing made. And it is. It's a little bit of a point where we're at a, you know, plateau in the plot. Um, because again, like the brush trials, you just have to do all four in whatever order you want. There's not a ton of like progression going on. Um, and again, just exploring the map. You're just grinding out pictures and things like that. So I assume once I get past the brush trials, it'll get back to being really engaging. But yeah, it's been a fun game, and I'm just at a little grindy point in it. And I'll bring that up in some of my other games as well. It's like I think part of the reason why I've stopped is I'm at a grinding point. But still a very fun game. It's on my little spreadsheet here. I have a category for each game, whether it's a daily game, an occasional game, um, it is completed, it's tabled, or just to finish, which means kind of in progress. And Chicory here is one of the games I have listed as to finish. Um, in addition to that, I've got Cassette Beasts and Tears of the Kingdom, two games I had mentioned last year. And what is the one? Oh, Neva. I'll get to that in a little bit later. But yeah, one of the few games I have on here with a to finish status because I want to finish it. It's a great game. Next up is one of two similar games that I played basically back to back this summer. Actually, spring now that I look at it. This is Dicey Dungeons. It was released in 2019. I played it back in April. It's a very cute and campy kind of roguelike dice rolling game. I love kind of the adventure style of the aesthetic. I think I had some navigation trouble with it with some of the menus though. Very fun. Um, Definitely feels kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons cartoon sort of thing. And yeah, I think it was very well made, and I need to again game I need to get back into and just have fun with every once in a while. Next up, we have Donut Count, or I always mess this up. County. It's not country. It's Donut County. Um, and this is one of 7 games this year that I actually completed. I should have mentioned for the Chants of Sennaar, I completed that one, and I've got 5 others after this. So not a great completion rate, but as I've mentioned before, I don't think I need to complete games to really enjoy them. Uh, Donut County here, cute, snarky, and pretty straightforward gameplay, but it does its gameplay well. Again, it's one of those things that even if it's simple, if it's done well, it's done well. And Donut County did that. And even if it's kind of simple and straightforward, it had a little bit of variety in the gameplay thrown in, particularly near the end, which was a nice touch. Um, but yeah, very fun and snarky. I liked it. I liked it. All right, next up on our list is a little bit of an odd one. This is Drift Survivor. I played it once back in January, and I don't really remember it very well. I kind of want to say it was a drifty bullet hell that I wanted to try again and get better at. Um, but I never did. So I actually I don't have much of a review for this one. I need to just try it again, I guess. Because I do have that vague recollection of wanting to. But it's one of those games where it didn't fully draw me in. It's interesting though. It's interesting if you like kind of those shooter games. Well, I guess not shooter, but like drifty bullet hell sort of thing. Yeah, should be one to look at. All right, next up we have Katomon Hyper Auto Battlers. I think is the full name of the game. I only have it listed here as Katomon. It is a like a deck building roguelike, Pokemon-like, if you want to mash all of those terms together. It was released this year, and I played it back in April around my birthday. And I remember it was a lot of fun, but it was also very fast-paced. I've never done an auto battler before, so I wasn't really used to how quickly things go. Um, So I don't think I was getting the hang of it as quickly as I would have liked to, but it seems like there's a lot of depth there to explore. Another game I need to give another shot for, because again, deck builder, roguelike, Pokemon-like, all things that are kind of up my alley. So yeah, something I want to try a little bit more in the future. All right, here we have Little Gator Game. Really cute game that was released in 2022, and it is adorable. It is, it's very cute, kind of exploration, tasks, whatever. Um, I know that like I cut that stream off a little early because I completed the tutorial level and started feeling like I was getting a little tired of it. Which once you complete the tutorial level and the world opens up, it's the point where the game is supposed to really start being engaging because now you can really explore, do what you want, all those sorts of things. And I got a little tired of it. I'm not sure why, because it was adorable. I got to the point of where it should have been opening up and being really fun, and I just kind of felt like putting it down. It was fun for the part that I was doing, but yeah, by the time the tutorial was over, I'm like, okay, I'm good here. All right, next up we've got a good one. This is Little Kitty Big City. One of the 2024 releases. I think this released at about the same time Animal Well did, and a couple of other really high profile games. I think like the Hades 2 released at the same time. So that was a big week in gaming, and it was also part of the year where I was ramping down before my hiatus. So I didn't actually get to playing this until this like late end of the year rush. And I'm so glad I did. I mean, I should have played it earlier, but I'm so glad I got to play this one and complete it. I got Little Kitty back home, and also got some other fun achievements going through. But again, a game that was just adorable. In my personal opinion, I call this the lighthearted cousin for Stray. Uh, just because you do really feel like you're being a cat through most of it, but instead of being that sort of a little bit morose thinker game, this one's just, again, adorable, fun, bombastic, silly. Um, it is a little bit buggy. I'll admit it was a little buggy. But it wasn't buggy in the sense that it stopped gameplay. It was just like, oh, this visual isn't working the way I think it's supposed to. But gameplay was great. Uh, I still need to go in and do some achievement chasing in that game. Uh, but yeah, it's fun. Little Kitty, Big City. It's cats. I should just admit this is utterly predictable at this point. But yeah, if you get a chance, get anywhere between like 4 and 8 hours, you'll have fun with Little Kitty, Big City. All right. Next up here is Macho Scooping. I think I put like an 8-minute trial video for this out way back in March or so. It is hilarious. Just the concept. Instead of kind of the Japanese tradition of fishing for koi at like a booth at a carnival, you're fishing for these hunky guys in swimsuits. Uh, it might be a fun party game, but there's not much to it otherwise, unless you like chasing leaderboards. Yeah, it's it's silly. But yeah, little simplistic. Could again, good for parties, but maybe not for long. Okay, next up here we have Mind Over Magnet, which is a really interesting story for video gaming this year. Another release, 2024. Mind Over Magnet was created by Game Maker's Toolkit, had a whole series mapping out the progress of this game. So even though it's, kind of an indie creator, their first thing, this game got a lot of polish, a lot of support, and a lot of attention because of the reach of Game Maker's Toolkit's channel. So it's definitely a well-made game and pretty fun. It's a, puzzle platformer, which is always up my alley. Um, I think, it could have used a little bit more content and a little bit of a better plot. But for one person doing everything and also trying to run other jobs while they're developing, uh, really well done. So solid game, enjoyable release. And as I said, it benefited a lot from the amount of exposure and support that network has. I don't think it would have been nearly as polished if he hadn't had so many play testers and, so much help. I think he mentioned, like, if he had a problem with something, his Discord could help him, solve it. Um, so not necessarily a path that other indie developers will necessarily have available to them, but I think it's really a really nice product and a really good story. And it shows what you can accomplish, especially if you have, the right support. I know one of his conclusions was if he was to ever make another game, he would offload some tasks, and for that you need support. So if you're a little indie developer running on your own, find out where you can get the help. Um, Even if it's, just a couple friends or just a request out into social media saying, hey, I need someone to, make my music for me. Or, I need someone to handle a couple of these art assets. Because you can make really good games, even as a sole person with a separate job and your developing is just on the side. So yeah, really good story and really good game. The magnet puzzles were pretty good, and again, I think it would have been great to have a little bit more content, which I think also was the original goal. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I think I did that on one stream and one video this year. So pretty quick game if you want to try it. It's a nice puzzle platformer. Um, but yeah, well done. All right, next up we have Moonlight Pulse. It's another uh, Metroidvania released this year, like Animal Well was. Another little one. This one is a lot cuter. Very kind of cartoon style and a little bit of a silly premise. You are this. You're basically the functioning immune system for a planet-wide entity or planet-sized entity. And so the visuals and the plot are really fun and really kind of silly. It's weird in a good way. I like it. And the controls were nice, especially with the team switching, which is kind of Moonlight Pulse's gimmick among other Metroidvanias. You're not just playing as one person where you're gathering your own skills. You've got all these different characters at your disposal. And I think even in some of the boss fights, you can have one as a support while you're playing as another. At least that's what the first boss felt like. I don't think I've ever made it to the second boss. I've only played it once, like Animal Well. Um, and so yeah, it's now it's weird that I've had two Metroidvanias that I've liked and never really picked up again. Um, but yeah, it's I need to. I've enjoyed them in the past, like the Ori games. So I just need to pick these up again. I'm not quite sure why I haven't come back to them. I just need to give them a chance because they're really fun. They're really fun. All right. Next up, we have Neva. This is one of the games where I am absolutely have a task of finishing it. It is gorgeous. It's by the same people who made Grease, which is another game on my backlog right now. Neva, it's tough. I've had some trouble getting through some of the challenges. Like I still need to beat this one mini boss so that I can get back to streaming on a regular schedule with it. But I love it. It is a great world that it's built even without. It's weird saying it's world building because it's very simple, straightforward game with not a lot of exploration to be had, but the atmosphere itself and the small bits of plot that you see are so impactful. It feels really good. Um, so yeah, I have to finish this game. I need to get that mini boss out of the way. I am looking forward to finishing this and trying Grease at some point because Neva's just gorgeous and it plays amazingly. All right, next up we have Sheepy: A Short Adventure, another one of the games that was released this year. I would call this one kind of like an action platformer with like a little bit of like I keep thinking Metroidvania because you keep adding skills as you're going through some of these levels, but it's definitely not Metroidvania because it's level by level. It's linear. It's very linear. So yeah, it's definitely more of like an action platformer. And Sheepy: A Short Adventure is very short. I did it all in one stream. Uh, and it's well done. The controls went really well, and I mentioned this on the stream, but I think it's going to be a great game if you want to try speed running it or chasing some of the achievements that it has. I actually think the team that made Sheepy: A Short Adventure made a separate game called cheapie that was like just 15 minutes long a couple years ago that they built into this more complete platformer. Um, it's good. It's good. Again, one of those, if you want a quick game that you can complete in one sitting, this is one for you. Okay, next up we have Sky, Children of the Light. It's the same team that made Journey, which is another game that's on my backlog. I know Journey had absolutely incredible reviews with the way that it kind of told a story without saying anything directly. Um, and the interaction that you could get with other players was somewhat indirect, but it felt really good. And I think all of those elements are also present in Sky Children of the Light. Um, it felt a little slow to me, honestly, and maybe that's because I'm not used to like MMOs and player interaction where it increases the enjoyment of the game. But it looks gorgeous, and the setup for the plot seems great. It just didn't hook me like I was really hoping to be hooked, and maybe I needed to play it a little more. Oh, one thing I will say about Sky Children of the Light is this is a game where I actually think that the controller maybe might make a big difference. I know a lot of games ask for controller, and I'm just playing it on my laptop here, and it usually doesn't feel too bad. I got the weird sense that I really should have been doing Sky Children of the Light on an actual controller. I don't know if that's true, because again, I haven't gotten super far in it. I haven't seen other people talking about it nearly as much as I saw people talk about Journey. So it'll be interesting. I could go back to it. This is one of the games that I currently have listed as just put away. So I don't have nearly as much desire to necessarily see it. If you think it's something I definitely need to do, if it's really following the footsteps of Journey right now, comment below and I can give it another look. But yeah, it just hadn't hooked me as quickly as I had hoped it would. All right, next up we have Slice and Dice, which I kind of view as a bit of a mirror to Dicey Dungeons. It's a dice-based roguelike. This one, darker aesthetic, really well done, honestly. It feels a little grittier. It feels more like you're in the trenches of a war as opposed to, the game show Dungeons and Dragons feel of Dicey Dungeons. This one absolutely kind of draws you in with the aesthetic, and the depth of gameplay on this was really surprising. Like, I remember from my stream on it, really thinking forward of having to balance the skills of my characters, like what was on each of their respective dice, and how that progressed through each battle, especially with balancing like healing and things like that. It's a really good depth game. Like Dicey Dungeons, I honestly haven't come back to it, but I do have it listed as one. It's like this will be a fun one to just pop into every once in a while. Yeah, I think it's really enjoyable. Okay, next up here is Soulforge Fusion, which is an interesting game for categorization for me, because my number one Steam game in terms of total hours played is still the original Soulforge. So Soulforge Fusion officially released this year. I think the original Soulforge was almost like a beta run for several years before the developers took it down and tried to remake it, I guess, into what they wanted, and that's Soulforge Fusion. And the thing is, this game didn't feel as engaging to me as the original Soulforge. I think on the stream that I had, you just kind of had to pick two decks, put them together, which is kind of the fusion aspect. I don't remember a bunch of actual deck building in this new version that I played on stream back in April. I could be misremembering, but I know the original Soulforge, you were making your own decks left and right and playing with friends a lot. I don't even remember if there was a bunch of PvP in Soulforge Fusion. Again, I didn't, I played it once, not sure how thorough I looked through all of the options, but it just didn't feel as engaging. The gameplay itself was still fine. It was what I remembered. But the support and game structure around the gameplay didn't feel as good. I do love my deck builder games, so I might try this again later, but this is again one of the games I have listed just being kind of put away. I need like a signal or a sign to say, oh, this is going to be worth going back into, and right now I don't have that yet. Again, the gameplay itself, the card game itself is fun, and it is what I remember, but just kind of the structure of the game around it didn't feel as good as it used to. Okay, next one is a really short, simple thing. This is Cats. It's a Suika game that I saw on Steam one day and just said, oh, that kind of looks fun because cats and kind of puzzly. That's what Suikas are. But there's not much to say. It's Suika where all of the things that you're dropping are just cats. I think I had some comments on how the game controlled when I played it, but I don't remember what those comments were, and so that means they must not have been as impactful as just the fact that it was a fun Suika game with cats. This one's going to be interesting. This is Unpacking, which I put one stream and two videos out, so I did complete the game. It took me a while to, share it on my channel, but the entirety of it was all back in January. I started and finished it in January. So it's been a long time since I played it. But I remember it got a lot of chatter and accolades when it came out. I think that was actually 2021 when it came out, so I didn't play it just until this year. Um, but it's a very well done, short kind of puzzly game that tells an amazing narrative, even without actually a lot of plot, because most of the game is you just moving your things around. But seeing what objects you're interacting with and the environments that you're interacting with tells its own story relatively well. But yes, and it's a creative thought process for a game that all you're doing is taking things out of boxes and putting them in rooms where you kind of want them. So I think it's lots of different solutions that you can do, but there are still some things that you need to get right. So I kind of view it as a puzzle game that way. So a little frustrating where you can't necessarily always figure out what is the right place to put something. But it's just a really great game overall. Yeah, if you haven't played it, that's one you could also maybe just do watching it. But it's nice. It's very nice. You should experience it in one way or another. All right, here's an interesting one for this year. Next up is Voxelgram. This was released way back in 2019. I think I only first started playing it in January. But this game I think is already number 3 in my Steam list for total hours played after the original Soul Forge and Mini Metro, which I talked about last year. Voxelgram is already up to number 3 because it's its own kind of logic game. I wouldn't necessarily call it a puzzle game. It's a logic game. If you've played any sort of like pictogram game where it's, you're just looking at, numbers on the side of a grid and drawing dots in to match the numbers to create a picture. That's what Voxelgram is, except it's in 3D. So voxels instead of pixels. You can play some of the pre-constructed levels to actually create recognizable items and recognizable pictures, which is fun on its own. But like some other pictogram games, you kind of have to squint to see how the pixel picture actually maps onto what you've created. The nice thing about a 2D pictogram is that you can create a grid that's absolutely gigantic and it's still going to be relatively solvable, and the larger it is, the more definition your image has. With Voxelgram, because you're working in 3D, you can't really have absolutely gigantic puzzle volumes to work with. And because of that, you really do kind of need to squint to sometimes see what object you're creating when it's done. They color the voxels in when you complete a puzzle, so it makes a little more sense. But the thing that the thing that's taken a lot of my time with this game is just playing the random, cube puzzles that you can do, and they just kind of generate a puzzle for you. If you're not making an item, you're just clearing the voxels out logically. Because again, that's me with logic puzzles. It's fun for the pictograms or the voxelgrams that actually have an end picture or end object for you to recognize. But the mechanic is there just to click through all of the puzzles themselves and just make a, final whatever based on, what the randomly generated thing is doing. This the sense of completion works for me. So that's how I built up a ton of hours on it. To be fair, some of the hours I built up were accidentally leaving the game running overnight a couple times, where I, was working on a puzzle, got distracted with something else, and then just left the puzzle open. uh, but even without that, I would play this thing daily, where I would go in and just solve 3 different cube puzzles that weren't meant to be anything inside. They were just cube puzzles. Um, so that's a little bit insight to my brain and how much it likes logic stuff. But no, it's if you like pictograms and want to take it to the 3rd dimension, then this voxelgram game is great. I've played it quite a bit. So if that's up your alley, absolutely try it yourself. And last, but probably not least, we've got Zodiac Cats. It's just a tile puzzle game where it's, an image in a grid where all of the grid points have been shuffled around, and you just have to swap these grid pieces around until you remake the original image. So really simple. Every single image actually has 2 versions, an easy mode and a hard mode, where the hard mode has like twice as many or 4 times as many tiles because it's, twice as many in each direction. I've completed that game. There are, I think, 13 or 14 puzzles, 1 for each Zodiac cat, and then like 2 extra ones once you've got the 12 Zodiac signs done. Yeah, it's a puzzle game. That's up my alley. I completed this back in June. It's fun if you like that sort of thing. All right, so that was the 25 games that were new to me this year, 12 of them being 2024 releases. You'll notice, aside from like Animal Well and Little Kitty Big City and maybe Moonlight Pulse and Neva, none of these were like some of the big games that you're seeing talked about for the real like game of the year from major publications and other YouTubers and things like that. Because I've downloaded Balatro. I haven't tried it yet because I know it's going to suck me in when I actually do it. And I haven't played some of the other AAA big things, but I don't know. I've enjoyed what I've done this year. Again, I kind of wish I hadn't taken that hiatus in the middle of summer, but you're between jobs and you got to do job applications. But so those 25 games and the 12 that were new this year weren't the everything I played. As I mentioned, I had 36 overall games. So for those 11 games that weren't new this year, 5 of them I'm just going to kind of hand wave here, but the other 6 I think were year defining for me. Stuff that I did a lot. So for the 5 quick things, we have Cattails Wildwood Story. I did both Cattails games in a lot more detail last year, so watch that review video or go to that playlist if you want to see more. Definitely fun management sims for me. Again, I'll play a management sim if it has cats. I did Jackbox this year. Everyone knows Jackbox, not much to say about that. I've done Mini Metro this year. I talked about it a lot in last year's review video. Still a great game. I need to try Mini Motorways, which I have downloaded now. But I'll look forward to that maybe this year. Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic. Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic. It is indeed classic. I love it. Might be some of my nostalgia taking, but I think it's an S tier game. It's just fun creating theme parks, and it's simple in, certainly compared to stuff that we have now, but it's just good. It's good. And then the last of the games I'm going to kind of hand wave here was those games that, again, I highlighted last year. Fun collection, making fun of all the mobile game ads. I only played it for a few minutes this year, honestly. I think I checked into it once or twice just to see what was going on. And there wasn't much to it. Now, the last time I checked into it was July 14th. And I've mentioned, I wish they made more. Well, apparently on July 17th, they actually did publish the sequel version of it. So now there's 2, you want to play those games, now let's see you beat them. I only realized that part 2 was released while doing the research for this video. So if I had played the game like 3 or 4 days later than I did. I might have seen that and been able to dig into it more. But oh well, something to look forward to for maybe next year. So there were those 6 other games that I've mentioned before that they weren't new to me this year, but I kind of consider them as having defined my year. There are a couple of games that were new to me this year that I also will be say have define it, but I will get into those as I get into my top 5 later. Um, but the 6 games that weren't new to me, but I kind of view as year defining. First off, of course, Magic the Gathering Arena. You've seen all of the Magic the Gathering Arena videos that I've played. So you know how much I do with that game. Um, I don't know what else to say. The direction of the game, particularly the paper game, is going to be questionable going forward. But again, the gameplay itself is great. I love it. There's not much more to say. I'll keep making videos on it as we go. Next up for year defining was Tears of the Kingdom. Again, new last year, absolutely amazing game. I've played it on and off, particularly for the first half of the year. I haven't played it at all, I think, since July. But it's one of the games I have listed here as one of the things I need to finish. Um, Particularly because I actually now have a couple of Switch games that I've gotten recently that I want to get into as well. But I kind of want to finish Tears of the Kingdom before I dig into some of these other ones. Uh, but yeah. Next up are 2 mobile games, Brick Out and Everyday Puzzles. Brick Out Shoot the Ball is just one of those games where you've probably seen a mobile ad for it. It's an easy way to sink a lot of time, and I think it is actually a pretty legit mobile game. As I said, I play it basically daily. It's one of those games where I chase its daily achievements. Same thing with my Extreme Puzzles game. It's basically a knockoff of a lot of the New York Times puzzles, just not made by New York Times. And for both of these mobile games, obviously there's the concern of what your mobile device is tracking you. And that's part of the reason why I haven't signed up for New York Times. So I just don't want to make another account. I don't like making accounts if I don't have to. But like the ads that I see in these 2 games, they're not targeted at me, so I'm not too worried about them that much. But yeah, the Everyday Puzzles game, you've got your crosswords, you've got your Sudoku, you've got the knockoff version of Connections. Yeah, it's got a lot of fun stuff in there. Again, honestly, New York Times does it better. But it's a nice little mobile game to have if you don't want to sign up for the New York Times stuff. Number 5 on not new but year defining is Pokemon Soul Silver. Obviously, if you've been following me since I came back from the hiatus, you know that my most recent Nuzlocke, Who Wants to Be Normal Anyway, has been one of the dominant forces on my channel, again, since I came back from my hiatus. And I'm close to taking on the Elite Four. I've already got my 8th badge, so I need to take on the Kimono Girls, fight Lugia, go through Victory Road, and do the Elite Four. I don't have a plan on taking on Kanto. Maybe if people want that, I can do that too. We can maybe make a goal of playing all the way to Red. But for a lot of Pokemon games, it's you beat the Elite Four and now you've won. So that's kind of my goal with Soul Silver right now. And then, who knows, maybe I'll take on another Pokemon game soon. But I'm enjoying it. It's been a long time since I've done Pokemon game. One of the Switch games that I actually got recently was Pokemon Legends Arceus. So that's going to be fun. That might be my next Pokemon thing once I finish this Soul Silver thing. I don't have a good way of streaming my Switch stuff right now, so sorry, that's just going to be fun for me. Maybe I'll do more Pokemon stuff as well online for the streams, but we'll see. We'll see. Soul Silver is almost complete, so look forward to new things after that's done. And the last of my games that are not new to me but help define my year is Cassette Beasts. Again, I still maintain this is the best Pokemon-like game out there. I just need to get back into it. I mentioned for Chicory a while back that part of the reason why I think I stopped playing it is I got to a point where it was a little grindy. And I think that's also where I am with Cassette Beasts. I know I had taken on like the leader of the Rangers or something like that, and her team was way higher level than mine. So I remember kind of signing off with like, okay, I'm going to start training so I can get this fight done. And again, with grinding, it's like, it's grinding. So the game overall is amazing still. I need to get back into it. I just need to maybe focus on something else while I do grinding in the background. I know I have to open more stations, so that'll be something to work on. Um, but yes, it is the best Pokemon-like game out there, which I think is saying something considering that Pal World released this year. So there's a lot of chatter on, Pokemon likes because of that. But no, Cassette Beast I think still is the top of the bunch. All right, so that is all of the games that were not new to me this year, whether they're kind of hand waves or year defining. Um, there are a few more year defining games in my top five for the year. Before we get to the top five, though, I have to give a few honorable mentions. Obviously, I have to give an honorable mention to Voxelgram just for how much I've played it. It is my number 3 game on Steam right now, and it's the number 2 among games that I've played this year. Number 1 is technically Mini Metro, but again, that wasn't just this year. But yes, Voxelgram, I have to give a shout out to that. Give an honorable mention to Dicey Dungeons and Slice and Dice. Two, again, I'm lumping them together because they are dice-based roguelikes. Um, I just need to, play them every once in a while more. I enjoyed them when I did it, especially with Slice and Dice. I got very close to actually completing a run that very first time I tried. So there's kind of that goal in my mind. Oh, I'm so close to finishing it. Let's do it. With the questioning thought of, oh, did I just get lucky the first time around and actually completing will be harder than I think it is. But yeah, definitely honorable mentions to those two dice games. Also, honorable mentions to Animal Well and Moonlight Pulse, those two Metroidvanias that are really fun. And again, I just kind of played them once and haven't gotten back to them. I need to. They're good games. Um, but those are my honorable mentions. So, what are my top five for this year? Well, number five, I'm giving to Cat Cafe Manager, just because how much it sucks me in. It's like it surprised me how much it did, because it was frustrating at times. I didn't necessarily think I was enjoying it, but time goes by like that, and I kept coming back to it. Like I think again, I have 3 streams of it online right now, something like that, 2 or 3. Um, yeah, it's well done. I would not have expected that high energy management sim to really draw me in, but it did. So my number 5 is Cat Cafe Manager. And that one was that is not a 2023 release. 2024, sorry. Um, but it still is in my top 5 for the year because it was new to me this year. My number 4 game for 2024 is a 2024 release, and that is Neva. The only reason I don't have it higher is because I haven't played it much. I think I only have 2 streams on, again, kind of like Cat Cafe Manager, and I'm stuck at the moment. I ended the past stream really struggling with that one mini boss, but it is an absolutely gorgeous game. I really look forward to seeing where it's going. I just need to play it more. But that is my number 4 for this year, and it is actually number 2 among 2024 releases for me. Next up, my number 3 for this year, for new to me games, was Chicory: A Colorful Tale. And this is one of the games, along with the 6 I mentioned earlier and Voxelgram, that I think I would actually consider Chicory one of my year-defining games. I've played quite a bit of it, again, but just not, it was all in the first half of the year. I haven't really picked it up since summer. I need to. Again, it's just kind of stuck at that little grindy point. But it is, again, beautiful game, not in the sense that Neva is beautiful, but it just incredibly so much love was put into making it. And the content is surprisingly deep as well. So it is amazing. I wish I had played it when it came out. Um, I'm actually not even sure if I was streaming back then, but just not nearly as much as I am now. It was released in 2021, so number 3 for me this year, even if it's not a 2024 release. Number 2 for me this year, and I guess number 1 for 2024 releases, is Little Kitty Big City, which I guess is kind of silly listing it as the best 2024 game that I've played when I've got Animal Well and Neva among the list as well. But Little Kitty Big City is the best 2024 game that I've completed. It's just fun. Again, as I said, I think it's the kind of lighthearted cousin to Stray, and Stray was up there for me last year. Um, or was it actually was Stray 2022? I'm questioning myself. Anyway, I don't even remember if I put it on my list last year for that reason. But yeah, Little Kitty Big City is just so much fun. It's so much fun. I've gotten 3 of those streams out, and I'll probably do a 4th at some point just to chase achievements. um, but yeah, it is, I think, my number 2 game for the year. It's one of the year-defining ones. Even though I've only done it 3 streams, it was hype. I was hyped for it before it came out. And yeah, the only reason I didn't play it right when it came out was because I was going through other life stuff, like back in May or whatever, when all of those games released, along with Animal Well and Hades 2 and whatever else came out around that time. Because I think there were like 5 games, really high-profile releases around that time, 4 or 5. But yeah, Little Kitty Big City, between the hype I had before it came out and the enjoyment I had while playing it, it is my number 2 for this year and number 1 among 2024 releases. And then my number 1 game for this year, maybe you've seen it by process of elimination already, it's Chants of Sennaar. It's kind of funny to me that last year, all of my top games were also 2023 releases. And this year, my top game is another 2023 release. But Chants of Sennaar is just so good, y'all. If you haven't played it and you haven't watched my streams, just go play it yourself, please. It is one of the best crafted games I think I've ever played. Once I maybe, get through and do a 2025 full games release, I may actually try to rank every single game I played ever. That'll be fun. But Chants will be up there. Chants of Sennaar will be up there. I don't know what else to say. It's just so good. Art is amazing. Not a fan of the point and click. In places, it worked out for the most part. Just a few small places I had trouble with it. But the puzzles are good. It's play it, y'all. Please play it. So yeah, that's my top 5 game for me for 2024. I'm looking forward to 2025. I've got a massive backlog. Let's see, and it's actually even grown since I posted it online a while back. My backlog is currently up to about 425 hours, actually probably closer to 440 because 2 of my games here don't have an estimate for how long to beat. And that's just the games that I want to do on YouTube for y'all. I have a separate backlog of games that I just want to play on my own time, and that includes like Balatro, it includes Hades, Celeste, other smaller things, Mini Motorways, Mimic Logic. Yeah, there's just a bunch. Oh, Pokemon Pocket TCG. That's a mobile game, so I'm never gonna be able to put that on YouTube, at least not easily. But I'm looking forward to that. I downloaded it when it came out, kind of like I downloaded Little Kitty Big City when it came out, and I haven't played it yet. So I need to try that out. I've also got a backlog of adult games that YouTube will not let me show, so I might actually open up a joystick.tv account. But yeah, between the actual backlog for YouTube, which is probably, again, close to 450 hours, and these other 2 things on my own time, as well as games like Magic the Gathering Arena that I just want to keep doing, that's a lot of hours to worry about. What I'm going to do is, after posting this video and getting through that boss on Neva, I'm actually going to start 2025 with trying to rush through some of the December 2024 releases. The one problem with trying to do these year-end review videos is, depending on how early you start planning them, there will be games that will release between then and the end of the year. So games like Atlas and Uncle Chop's Repair Shop and Caves of Cud, Anton Blast, and Mythwrecked. Those are my 5 right now that are like these late 2024 releases that I'm going to try to bust through early in 2025. And honestly, when I do my 2025 games and review video, I might just consider these, even though they're not technically 2025 releases, I might just consider them among the list because anything after Thanksgiving is like hard to include in the year itself. So those December 2024 releases, I might just do this year in review as being December to November as opposed to being January to December. But I'm looking forward to those. Some of the other games that I'm looking forward to this year, I need to try Terra Nil. I need to try Hyperbolica. I absolutely need to try BC Ball. That is a 2024 release that I know it was hyped. I've seen a lot of people love it. I'm looking forward to it. It's a Pokemon-like game, so that one could potentially dethrone Cassette Beast as the best Pokemon-like out there currently. I need to play it. That is absolutely high on my list. That actually might be the thing I dig into after these late 2024 releases. I also need to just look into what 2024, 2025 releases I'm excited for. I mean, obviously there's going to be Pokemon Legends AZ. I need to play Pokemon Legends Arceus before I do AZ. But that'll be fun. And yeah, I need to look up what other things will be fun. But that's looking forward ahead to 2025. I hope you enjoyed this 2024 games review. Even if you've got like my top game wasn't 2024 and my top 2024 game was Little Kitty Big City. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, especially if you've got some more off the wall top picks among your games for the year. And happy gaming for 2025. I will see y'all later. Bye.